friends, good to see you again. So let's talk about the square between the Sun and Saturn in the natal chart. So when we have the square between these two, we have two factors that are working in conflict with each other, against each other. We have the Sun, which is our way that we pursue our playtime, our causeless happiness, our creativity, how we'd like to be seen and validated, and the kind of applause that we're really looking for, self-esteem. And then Saturn is how we will go after our long-term goals, the actions that we'll take to secure our position in society, how we will achieve our social security. So it's our broader long-term outlook. Saturn is also the expectation that we have of ourselves. It is what we think we should be, what we are trying to grow up to be. So it's the bar that we judge ourselves against. And Saturn is also the shoulds in our thinking. So it's very much the restrictions within which we work. So when we have the Sun, which is our solar power, our enjoyment, our vitality, our life force, in conflict with the actions that we're taking regarding how we're going to be something, the expectation that we have of ourselves, how we will become valid, we have an inferiority complex working at full tilt with the opposition as well. But with the square, there's a consistent feeling of not getting anywhere, because we have the part of us that is responsible for self-esteem and our life force and our happiness, that's the Sun, and the part of us that is working towards becoming something more in a material way, or showing up in society, securing our position. These two things are at a war with each other. So we feel like, well, I'm this way, but I'm also this way. Or, I want to be this, but I want to be this. And so the two things are at odds with each other. So we feel like there's like two forces that are coming up against, and there's just this consistent pressure. So we're not getting anywhere. And so people who have the square do feel that they have to work extremely hard to get what they want. They have to expend a lot of solar power, a lot of their vitality, their life energy, their life force, in order to even make micro goals. So the idea of working hard and being frustrated by that hard work, being frustrated by how long it takes to get anything, it's a very difficult thing for people to contend with. There's a great deal of impatience in the personality, this feeling that, no matter what I want or what I do, there's always something working against me. There's always something that is blocking me. Because we have these two ways of being in conflict with each other. So there is a blockage when it comes to, what I want to be and what I feel that I should be. So the self-judgment, the inferiority is huge with this particular aspect. So people with the square and with the opposition need to learn to believe in themselves. They need to learn to recognize their own credibility and to build that credibility. It comes over the course of time with the square. And once they really start to put their back into things, they really do start to look at what they want and then start to work hard in achieving that, we can get these two things to work together. But we do have to know what we want. It can't just be all what we want. It can't be just what we think we should do. we have to have these two things come to work together rather than work against each other. So we have to know what we want, and then we have to know what our long-term goals are. What would we like to be eventually? So if we're working towards what we want, then it makes it a lot easier to expend that energy. If we are not aware of what we want because we're so much working towards what we think we should be doing, we can feel so much more depleted. So we can't just play, we can't just work. We need to have our work be our play. So there's a wonderful marriage of the two things with the square. So really recognizing what our preferences are and what our abilities are, what are the actual resources available to us, and getting these two things to work together solves that conflict. We will still have to work hard because it is a square. We'll have to expend some amount of energy. But the payoff is wonderful when we have the hard aspects between the Sun and Saturn, because the first thing we get is self-respect. That's the first thing that we earn with the hard aspects between Sun and Saturn. And when we really start working for what we want instead of what we think we should be doing, and really solve that resentment problem, because we have to look at outside circumstances and conditions and look at how much is that driving our behavior, how much is what we think life is doing to us, or our lack of opportunities, or our circumstances or conditions, how much is that driving what we're doing, our actual action, and take a look at that, because we may be caught in a Saturn trap there. Because if we're just reacting to outside conditions and circumstances and what's going on out there, then we're more in the role of victim. We're definitely not in the driver's seat of our own life. So a big part of solving the square is identifying what we want and taking responsibility for getting it, taking responsibility for how it is we are acting on what it is that we would eventually like to become. With the square, we need to be sensitive to our need for play. And we also need to be mature about what it is that we actually can do and what we have time to do and the ability to do. And then that self-confidence starts to come as we start to see results. We start to see that we're happy in what we're doing. We start to see that the hard work that we're putting in is paying off, and it's actually being put into something that we value, something that we want. So the self-esteem grows, we earn it, the more that we can work on a life that's more of our choosing. I hope that was helpful. If it was, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com, Facebook and Instagram, other social media at Truth and Aspect Astrology. I do have a few courses currently open. The Astrology 101 course, part 1 is filled, but part 2 is currently open for registration. And my synastry course, the beginning synastry course, parts 1, 2, and 3, are also open, but these fill up very quickly, so I'd encourage you to get your slot while you can, and I will be back super soon with more videos.